Welcome to PacWest Magazine, the radio show. The show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The PacWest is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the PacWest. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom Camillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
I have my PacWest blue on today, Joe. You like that? PacWest blue.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
you know what? Don't take it wrong, but that tie and shirt combination, those are great colors for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
I got to give a lot of credit to my wife, though.
You're looking kind of like, like the cover of GQ today.
Or QG.
Or one of those things.
I had to give a lot of credit to my wife. We have a trade-off. I let her pick out the stuff. I do the laundry. I fold the clothes. I do the dishes, and I do a lot of the cooking.
You do the dishes?
Sure.
Wow.
That's,
it's awesome.
I hate doing homework with my daughter. I can do it, but I'm not. She's a teacher, and that's her specialty, and I kind of let her. I do some of it, the math and everything. But anyway, it's we are live in the Santan Valley, as we are every Thursday at noon.
And it's nice to be alive out here.
It is nice to be alive out here, and it's nice that. Well, you know what? It's going to be 107 again, and it's October next week.
That's just weird.
It's the pool stays warm. So, but around the Pacific West Conference, the weather is always beautiful because it is the most beautiful destination conference in the NCAA, especially at the Division II level. And today we're going to talk women's golf. The PacWest added women's golf as a sport this year. Some of the schools have some fall tournaments, and we're going to talk with Rachel Harmon, who's the new head coach at Dixie State College of Utah, and we'll get her on here, and Joe's going to dial her up. And Dixie State is one of the several schools that some schools have had women's golf. It wasn't a PacWest sport, but they offered it as an NCAA Division II sport, and then some have added it recently. And Dixie State is one of those schools, and Rachel is a former pro player, and she played at the college level, and she has an interesting story. Her father was a military man and had the kids, and they went and practiced golf a lot, and a very structured sort of lifestyle, and it's really benefited her well, and it's going to benefit the Dixie State College of Utah women's golf program. And we're really excited to have this. Will be our first women's golf coach and or player on the program, and we have Rachel live from St. George, Utah. Rachel, welcome to PacWest Radio.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Rachel, let's we talk a little bit about the Dixie State College program and your background. The Pacific West Conference this year has added women's golf as a program, and you're now the head coach of.
I'm only getting half of that.
Yeah. Can she hear me? Okay.
Sorry, I only got in and out.
All right. How about, is that a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. Joe had it. Hit a button. I fixed the button. So, Rachel, you've let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the Pacific West Conference has added women's golf. Women's golf at the college level has been growing over the last, especially 10 years. And where do you see women's golf in the scheme of college athletics? How has it grown? Because you played in college and now you're coaching a college team. Can you kind of take us through the progression a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of progression in women's golf. I think a lot of schools are seeing the need for it. I think it develops really, really great student athletes to bring to the universities and the colleges. I have really upstanding young women who play the sport, have been bred in this very honest and unique dynamic of a sport. And I think that the conference and all the schools kind of got on board with that these are the kind of players they want to represent their schools, and women's golf just facilitates kind of a different breed of a female athlete, someone who's really on the ball, really smart student, just has been given a lot of positive things in the world of golf. It's a unique sport for an individual to play. So I think it's progressing to the point that schools are realizing it because it produces these unique women that if they don't pursue it past college and play professionally in the golf world, they make for outstanding women in the workforce and business women because they know how to handle a lot, time management in golf, and they know how to work a crowd and a group, and so I think it's moving in the right direction and growing for a reason.
Do you? It's interesting that you said that. Is there, the dynamic of golf is that a lot of business they talk about being done on the golf course, and obviously, years back it was a lot of men playing golf and doing the business. But are you seeing that now as more women have gone through and now are in the working world that they can use that sport to their advantage in whatever career they're in?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I use it as a recruiting tool. When I've recruited this last year, just letting the girls know that, although they may be past college, this may just be a 4-year thing for them. I said, this will open up so many doors, not only from the boosters you meet through the university and things, job opportunities that come just by being a student athlete, but also that if you're able to play golf and you're able to keep up with the men on the golf course when you have these, company golf tournaments, or sometimes you can really turn an opportunity to interview with a company and take it to the golf course and do your interview on the golf course. And anytime I've had a job opportunity outside of golf, my interview always turns to golf. No joke. It always turns to golf about how I played in college, how I was a great athlete, because there's something that's fed to that you were able to do something other than just your 12 hours a week of college studies. You did an extra 20 hours of athletics. I mean, you knew how to handle your time, to show up on time. You were coachable, which means you're able to be managed, by a superior. So there's a lot that comes with it that I think employers really, to stand out for women and for them to be able to take it to the golf course, the men that are hiring them or even the women respect it, that they can play a sport to that level, that they were able to do it in college. So
was there a period of time that this all really started to manifest itself or change or really got a push? Was it 5 years ago, 10 years ago? During your career, we read there's the feature story about you on the Dixie State College website and talked about you growing up and practicing as a child and then going on and playing high school and then in college. Do you remember during all these years of you playing that there was a moment or a time when it changed for women's golf?
I would think, I came from a really good generation of really great female athletes that were coming up. We were kind of at the same time. You look at like Stacey Lewis or Yanni, or girls that are really similar to my age, that we all kind of got brought up in this time where it started taking off, because we were watching players like Annika and, before that, Nancy Lopez. And we were watching all these great women, but they were always kind of just one standout female that was playing well. And nowadays you're seeing a lot of females. There isn't just necessarily one dominating the women right now since Lorena left. And so I think that was, it was probably in the last decade that really jumped, where there was multiple players. It became a worldwide sport, with a lot of the Asian players coming over and kind of dominating and taking over, which was, good and bad for women's golf in the country, just because it brought a lot of attention that, maybe we don't have the edge on the game. It's bigger than what we are in the United States. And so I think it was in the last decade that it really took on this whole new realm of, that more than one player could be on top. And you kind of see it happening in the men's too, since Tiger hasn't been on top all the time. So you see the capability of each woman being able to do that. So I think it's been in the last decade. I think when I was little, it was pretty much dominated by one or two players, and then these girls kind of reached their capabilities and saw that there was potential to do more, and sponsors got on board and made the purses bigger for the women. So there was a lot of appeal for women to keep involved with it through college and onward.
We're visiting with Rachel Harmon, the head women's golf coach at Dixie State College of Utah. And Rachel, what's it like to build a program? Are you coming into a situation where the conference has a new sport? It's fairly new at most of the schools in the Pacific West Conference. How do you go about building a program and strengthening it, so almost from its inception?
Yeah, I was a little intimidating at first. I was really excited to be able to. A lot of coaches, when they take over a program that's already been in existence, they always say, I wish I could bring my own people in. I wish I could have recruited these girls to really know what they came from. They kind of want their own players. So when I got the opportunity to start from scratch, I took that advice that I'd heard from other coaches and go, well, I get to pick my whole team. I'm not taking over for some coach and following some legacy that they had trailed before, or picking up pieces that maybe they had lacked. So it was really unique, and so of course I jumped at the challenge to do that. Not many coaches get to start a program and put that on the resume, and I was excited because my focus, of course, was recruiting a team that had already been established. That was kind of my mindset. If I could get enough players, enough freshmen, sophomores, and juniors to kind of build an already established-looking team, then that would set us off on the right path. And so I was lucky to get a junior transfer, so one junior. I've got 3 sophomores that I got to come in, and a bunch of freshmen, and that was huge for me, is that I needed that kind of spacing in my team so that I didn't have 10 freshmen that I was going to lose in 4 years and not be able to pick up, others along the way, because then I'd have a 20-person team, in 2 years or 3 years. So I was really lucky to get the girls that I got, and I feel like I did a great job recruiting them, and they were excited to play with, to come and play for me, being a young coach and someone from my experience and the way that I played the game. So I was fortunate to get the girls I did, and I think they're definitely on the right track.
It's interesting. About 8 years ago, when I was an SID on campus at a Division II university back east, we added women's golf, but they had a real struggle just fielding a team. And the high schools, it would be like one girl on a boys team or 2 girls on a boys team. Has that changed? Are the high schools now adding girls teams, and is that making a difference in your recruiting? It seems like it the way you're talking.
Yeah, we in Utah specifically, they just added Utah high school girls golf in the last 3 to 4 years. So a lot of my Utah girls, or when I've watched Utah high school girls, they're in their infancy too as a program, as a statewide girls high school golf. So a lot of them have similar things like that going on here in the state at the high school level, that they're trying to field teams and not really bringing very developed players, because the girls have just recently been introduced to the game. When I played high school, I had to play on the boys team. I was lucky I had sisters that played with me on the boys team, but when I was a senior, I was the captain and the one girl on the guys golf team captaining all these boys, and it was unique and great. But I also, when I started recruiting, of course, I went out of the state to schools, or to states that already had established high school players, and picked up 3 Californians. I picked up a Canadian that had been playing for a long time, and a girl from Washington State, girl from Vegas. So I kind of went outside of the state at first, and then I pulled some local players that, of course, were already established tournament players and had been more than just high school golf. And I think that we were fortunate that where we're located as well, we're in a perfect climate the whole year. We get hot 3 months of the year in the summer when the girls are out of here and they're at home. So it was a really good recruiting tool to be where we are, where we're located, 90 minutes from Vegas, and perfect climate. And I didn't get a lot of complaints about, do I have to bring a sweater? And I said, yeah, maybe for 1 month of the winter you'll want a sweater to play in. But so that was a huge recruiting tool. A lot of people want to be down here. I was down here as a kid every weekend to play and to practice when it was snowing where I was from. So I think I've had a lot of fortunate things going my way that has builded me the team that I've had. And like you said, I met other coaches this last weekend that said, I can barely get 5 players. How do you have 11, that want to play and that are good caliber players? And I just kind of shook my head and I said, I think they wanted to come play for me, and I think we've got a lot going for us with climate, and the school is a little bit smaller, but yet big enough for the girls to meet a lot of diverse students. And
what intrigued you about the job at Dixie State? Besides, obviously, coaches, you get an opportunity to build a program from scratch, but you're also in a great location you talked about. But did the conference intrigue you, the competition? Was it just something that you wanted to do, or did you see the opportunity and say, hey, you know what, I never really thought about this, but I'd like to take a shot at it?
Yeah, it was kind of the latter of your comments. I'm from 4 hours north from here, so I did have to transplant my family a little bit, but not. It was kind of that not far enough away from extended family, but just far enough to do our own thing. And being a young family, my husband and my daughter and I, and also just St. George itself, where we're located, it's kind of second home to me. This is where my swing coach has been since I was 5. He's still a swing coach down here. So I had a lot of reasons to be here. It was kind of a second home. And then also I looked at the conference, the PacWest conference, and I saw how it was growing. And I thought, well, this is the time to get in. This is the time to get in, to be a part of it, to watch women's golf develop, to put my mark on the conference as a coach, to be, a great coach representing the PacWest and see where it takes off in the next few years. So a lot of it had to do with second home and also the conference and seeing where it's at with women's golf and just kind of getting everything in at the ground level so that I can kind of ride along with it and stick with it as long as I can and see it develop into bigger and better things.
There's not a lot of opportunities out there for any coach in any sport to build a program from scratch and to really to kind of put your mark on it. So it's a great opportunity. We're visiting with Rachel Harmon, the head women's golf coach at Dixie State College of Utah. If you haven't seen it, you can check out the Dixie State College website or the PacWest website, and there's a feature story that the Dixie State Sports Information Office put together on Rachel. And Rachel, when I read the story about you, the second paragraph really intrigued me. It said that your father was a devout military man. He would drop you and your siblings off at a golf course at 5:45 a.m. Can you talk about that? Obviously, it honed your skills to be able to do what you're doing now.
Sorry, Tom, you're just cutting in and out again.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think... Okay, that's okay. You can hear me good now?
Yep, sorry.
So, we got a note. Lynn from...
That's who just called in. Lynn from Chaminade University said that they love you out there in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was important
Great.
to throw across the desk here.
I think, Rachel, you're the first representative from any women's program on the PacWest radio show. So it's a growing sport. When I looked at this feature story that Jeff Clough in the Sports Information Office did on you, it talks about your father being a devout military man and that he would drop you off in the morning to go practice golf at 5:45. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, those were long days. I grew up in a really unique family that we did have a military father. He was a major in the Army and served in Desert Storm back in the 90s, and he was just very particular in the way that he ran his family, much like he ran his servicemen. And we had 6 children. I was the baby of 6, and there's 4 of us at the end of that are all 1 year apart. We're literally 13 months apart.
Wow.
So we were called the 4 little ones. We were a senior, a junior, a sophomore, a freshman when we all were in college or in younger years. So really close-knit group of, we were a perfect foursome. We really were the perfect foursome. And he was very set in that this was the sport that we were to play, and he knew we had talent. We all had athletic talent that he'd given us and my mom, and he would drop us off before work. And we had a great local home course that they knew that if we picked up balls that they would let us, if we picked up the range, that they'd let us hit those balls for free. We could go out and play, and just had a really great setup with a local pro that, if we did our part, they would take care of us. And so he knew if he could drop us there for 12 hours a day, we were safe. We had each other. We had some lunch money to go to the grill, and we would put in 12 hours of work. I mean, it was just expected, and we had fun with it because we were all close friends because of our age. And we met other friends, of course, at the golf course, and so that was our routine. We also swam competitively. So during swim season, we would have workouts at 5:30 in the morning, swim until 7:30, and then next thing you know, Grandpa's picking us up to drive us to the golf course to sit there for 10 hours and do our thing at the golf course, and then we'd have a swim meet at night. And there would Dad be at the pool waiting for us to excel in swimming as well as golf. And so he just had a certain way of doing things, and at times for each of us it got frustrating being teenagers to not be able to do some of the other things that other kids our age were doing in the summers. But after a little bit of trial and error, we realized that this meant bigger things. My dad really had a vision for what we were going to do with the game and how it could pay off for college athletics. And of course, we all saw that and went after it. We all played Division I collegiate sports. My brother played at the University of Utah. 3 of us played for Brigham Young University at the same time. So I actually played with my 2 sisters for a year. And you just don't see families doing that. So I was really blessed to have the parents I had that, my dad just had a vision, and he's a goal setter, and he reaches goals, and so he did that with us. So I was fortunate to have that.
That must have been really to be able to play with your siblings, sisters on a Division I women's golf team. That must have been, something you always look back on and would say, "Wow, not many people get an opportunity to do that."
Yeah, we were really fortunate. My sister was a senior, my other sister was a junior, and I was a freshman, and we went to every single event that year together. We qualified for every single event, the three of us, and so the only spot that changed on the squad was those 2 spots for the 5. And so, it was a couple regular girls, of course, one of my best friends, Alexis, who's coaching at Monterey Bay. And anyway, we got to travel as sisters for an entire year, and the school, of course, takes care of it. And what other, nobody really gets to do that with their siblings at that level and travel as much as we did as a family and play a sport that we all excelled at different levels. And so we definitely cherish that. We're all moms now. We all look back on the glory days, of course, and think about when we did that and how we all want to still go out and play together and do that. But we all have kind of busy lives. But it's definitely very unique to cherish.
Do you get, when you go through, and I've had friends had similar experiences where, and it may not be a parent, but they're involved with whether it's sports or dance, and they have kind of those rigid lifestyles, and some go through and really reap the reward of it and enjoy it, and then some really end up hating it. They lose the enjoyment of it, and they stop doing it. And then later in life as adults, they kind of say, "Wow, I really like doing that." How did you kind of to keep the enjoyment? Because obviously being there 10 hours a day, you're not at your home. You're not. That probably gets grueling for a kid.
Yeah, and there was, like I mentioned, I think we each had kind of a breakdown summer at different points for each of us. I remember when I was 12, that was my breakdown, was I was just being that preteen, and I had, really good friends. We were going into junior high, and they were all at our local amusement park or the water park or all these typical preteen things that you do. And so I got frustrated, and I put my foot down with my parents, and I said, well, I'm not going to practice. I'm not going to put in the work to get the results that you want from me. And it cost me. I remember I didn't practice for a week or two. My dad would drop me off the golf course, and I'd sit under the tree. I'd go to the cafe and eat as slow as I could eat so that I didn't have to go hit balls. And then I remember he took me to my next tournament, a week later, and I didn't win. And I didn't like the feeling. I didn't like that I didn't have a trophy at the end of the day. I didn't like that I had jeopardized, my family name and put a bad mark on, I just didn't put in the work. And so it was a short little period. I was lucky it was so short. I didn't sit my, whole summer long and didn't hit a ball, but I realized that I liked winning, that this was more than me. This was actually something I enjoyed, and I didn't know it until, of course, I threw it away for a little bit. And so I was lucky that it was a short period of time. I know my siblings went through it too, where they all had that taste of not wanting to do it for a minute and then realized this is bigger than us. This is going to pay off. Why would we want to be a normal kid doing normal things? Because we had extraordinary opportunities. We met incredible host families on tournaments. We met, to have school paid for. Who gets that? Most normal kids are working 2 jobs to pay for school, or their parents are working 2 jobs to pay for it. And so here we are swinging a metal rod at a little white ball and, doing it successfully so that we don't have to worry about a tuition bill, or what we're going to wear or what we're going to eat, and we don't have to worry about those things. So it was really nice, but I know I went through that little phase like most kids.
I know a lot of us who work in college athletics, and I've been involved for 20-some years. You do, when you're involved in something like that, it's like, wow, you get paid to do that. Is that how you feel? You get to play golf, you get to coach golf, and you put in all that work as a child and as a teen and then into college, and now you're getting to do something that you're getting paid for that you love to do.
Yeah, it's really, I always hear it from friends and family, of course, that, it's not a job, it's not a job.
Yeah.
And of course there's moments where it is a job, the paperwork, and especially coaching, there's a lot that kind of goes into it, but at the end of the day, I'm at a golf course, I'm walking on green grass, I'm out in the sun, I'm watching these girls, do something that I love and sharing my experience with them, and it's really unique. It really is. It's one of those things where you're like, really? And they pay me at the end of the month for this? You know,
yeah, exactly.
There's something that gets deposited. Yeah, because at the end, you know, I'm sleeping in a hotel room on a trip, and I'm waking up and breakfast is made, and you look at all the luxury things that come along with golf, especially, and the country clubs we get to play out, and the donors and the boosters that are just these elite people that support the game, and you're like, I rub elbows with these people. They look at me as if I'm something special because I can play it well, and I look at them because they're successful businessmen and women, and then I have to think at the end of the day, like, oh wait, this is my job. You know, this is what I do every day. And of course, my husband doesn't make fun of it, but he's like, you know, if I complain about a day at work, he's just like, are you kidding me? You know, I just sit in front of the computer and talk to customers on the phone, and you know, everything that he does, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, you kind of take it for granted a little bit sometimes, but I'm really fortunate to do what I do, and I think most college coaches would say the same thing, that there's nothing else like it. There really isn't anything else like it, that you can get paid to do your passion.
Does your husband get questions like, oh, what does your wife do? Oh, she goes play golf.
Yeah, he really has to watch what he says. That he has to make sure that it sounds like it's work and that it's a hard job. But I know he gets so many comments like, oh, you're the luckiest man in the world. You know, your wife plays golf, and he used to caddy for me professionally, and so he always talks about those days when he was out with me, but he's the best support in the world because he's very quick to put me in the limelight, very quick to put me in the spotlight, and be supportive of it. So he gets a lot of comments from coworkers and along the way.
Do you, when you play now, do you still play competitively at all, or is it mostly recreational, or are you really between family and coaching, you don't get to play as much as you like?
I don't play as much as I like. I'd still like to compete. It's kind of hard to find an outlet to play professionally, especially in the state of Utah. We don't have any opens or anything like that for women. You have to pretty much join the PGA section to play against the men to do anything locally. And then I could play the Cactus Tour, which I used to play down in Phoenix. It's really expensive to play, so I always try to justify, you know, if I'm going to go play again and compete kind of in the off seasons when the girls are home, you know, can I financially do it? Because entry fees are like $550 a week. So
wow.
It's hard. I kind of have to justify that my game has to be ready for me to do it again, and I'd like to. I really would like to play when I have an opportunity, when the girls are home or when I have time. But right now it's more recreation. I do a lot of fundraisers, and people call me all the time to come out and be the pro in a group, you know, for one of their scrambles, things like that. So I still do that, and that kind of keeps me involved in my own game, and I'm still playing well. I played with the girls a couple weeks ago just so they know that I can still play and that I still have game, and so they're not going to beat me as much as they try, and that I kind of have to make sure I keep them in check. So I want them to beat me as a coach. I want them to beat me. I just have to make sure my game stays as sharp as theirs.
Is there pressure when you're playing them? Has anybody come close to beating you?
We did about 3 holes with each group, and I think a couple of them gave me a run for their money, and then we did a little putting competition that they lost, but they're really supportive of it because they know how competitive I am, and so they like to challenge me, which is perfect. And so I think it kind of puts a little fire in their belly to see, you know, to challenge me at their games, and they're all getting there. They're definitely capable of beating me, and I haven't played enough with them to really challenge them, but it keeps me on my toes. I definitely have to keep my game sharp to keep up with these girls. They're young and fit. They're not mommies and chubby yet.
And they don't have mortgages, and they don't have to worry about dropping kids off at school and those kind of things.
Exactly.
So, well, Rachel, we really appreciate you joining us on PacWest Radio, and welcome to Pacific West Conference. Good luck this year with your program and in the future, and it's just terrific. Really an interesting story, and we're really excited about having women's golf in the Pacific West Conference.
Thank you very much for having me and for supporting the program.
Thank you, Rachel Harmon, the head coach of Dixie State College of Utah women's golf, and we wish the best of luck with them. And PacWest will have its first women's golf championship in the spring. So, Joe, a terrific show, and it shows the growing type of sports, especially the opportunities for women. And I told the story earlier on. We added women's golf, and it was more kind of a Title IX gender equity issue. and we added it, but we couldn't get a lot of players. Now, 10 years later, now you see teams actually having to make cuts because there's so many women that have taken up the sport, not just taken up, but have gotten good at it enough where they're very competitive, and a lot of times they're beating the boy. In high school they're beating the boys teams. So it's great. We'd like to thank Rachel for joining us. And don't forget, next week we'll be back on PacWest Radio, 12 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, 9 o'clock in Hawaii, 1 o'clock in St. George, Utah. For Joe Carrero, I'm Tom D. Camillo. We'll catch you next week on PacWest Radio.
Hi, this is Daniel, your host for Rock and Roll 101, every other Sunday at 5 on KQCK.